Hey, good evening and welcome to tonight's show here on DJNTV. I'm John Young, your host tonight, and tonight I am joined by one of my older friends in the DJ industry. And I'm not saying because he's old. We've just known each other an awful long time. Good evening, Rob.
There's no take two on this, is there?
No, there isn't. And,
No.
You know, I just always like to throw something out like that and see how people are like, okay, did he just call me old? Or is it, well, you know, we have known each other a long time.
Well, it's funny because this is the first time I've actually done your show and had to. I got my brand new glasses today that I have to wear all the time now. So it's great to be on the show, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've gotten together, so this is kind of fun. For those of you watching, we're going to be talking, kind of the bulk of tonight's show is some other ways to be making income for your entertainment business. And that's what tonight's show is going to be about. But there's going to be some times where, truthfully, we're going to tangent a little bit because, you know, you've got a couple of people, old friends who haven't had a chance to talk and catch up. So there's going to be some things that
we're going to talk about some stuff and people are going to go, huh?
How, what? Yeah. It's like, so we'll try to explain every inside joke and such so you guys can have some good takeaways from tonight's show. So Rob, you're the bubble parties guy. So let's do the elevator speech for that, for those who have no idea what we're talking about. And then we're going to kind of get into some ideas and things you've been doing to make money when we couldn't be dancing.
Well, Bubble Parties is a business program that I was handed down, I guess you could say. My mentor, John Allo, who was my one of my really good friends in the business back in the 90s, he came up with this program on how to entertain at daycare centers and developed a program called the Bubble Party, which we talk a little bit. It's entertainment and a little bit of education for kids ages 3 to 7. He developed this program. John got really sick and asked me to take over for him in 2006. A year later, unfortunately, he passed away due to complications, and I took over the business plan that he actually developed and have been teaching DJs how to do these shows and how to profit from them. And John, we've been really fortunate because even with the pandemic, we're making this program work. The providers in our network, actually, we all sat down last year and we really brainstormed to come up with unique ways to be able to do this program, even though the CDC was saying you can't go to a daycare and, you know, no field trips or anything like that. So we've been really fortunate. And before we went on, I was telling you, I've got an early wake up call tomorrow morning to do one of these parties outside of high school. So it's been a lot of fun to teach DJs how to kind of pivot a little bit away from the traditional show up and push play kind of thing. But tonight I'm going to share some ideas about how to be a kid-friendly kind of DJ and have a little bit of fun with that. And if you want to learn more about how to expand that into something that can be profitable, I will say this: 2 years ago, pre-COVID, at least 45% of the income for my business was attributed to kids' entertainment and bubble parties. So it's a pretty good deal. If you want more information, I'm also proud to sponsor DJNTV. It's always cool to, we go back a long time, and I've been a big supporter. And what did we do? I've written for a while. I've done countless stuff together with you, which is it's been fun to share what I know, and this is just another great opportunity with that. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's something you've been around and with us for a lot of years, and you've got a program that DJs from around the country have been making money with and such, and we'll get more into that. But just flashing back to when John, the very first time I saw John talk about this was at the NAME convention that Bruce did up there in Philly. And the very first time, it's like, that is, because we've all played musical chairs, or we've all done a couple of games here and there, but to, be the first person who actually put together a program. And it's like, it was just it was kind of simple, but yet he did the heavy lifting to have something that was a something you could reproduce, and I was like, this is a fabulous idea.
He did a lot of work. The way the story goes, and I talk about this when I educate providers and when they buy the program with us. He went to his daughter's daycare. He had 3 children, and his middle daughter was in a daycare just about 20 minutes from where he lived, and they would bring in the parents for career day. And John, being, let's be honest, we're performers. John didn't want to get up and say, oh, I'm a DJ and I DJ weddings and I create fun. So he decided to put
fun.
a kid playlist together. This is way back. Like this is back when we used to have the CD Mix 2. And you had to, you had your CDs.
Yep.
So he brought a sound system and he decided to throw a bubble machine in the car. He went over there and did a little show for the kids. The kids loved it. The parents loved it. And the teachers offered to pay him to come back. And that's what he did. And we've just really taken it up another notch. We've taken it beyond just being a DJ with a bubble machine and put some stuff into our program that really is going to make it so that your referrals ring off the hook. In fact, in the time that we've been talking since what I come on about 10 minutes ago, I've gotten 3 inquiries just from the stuff I posted on social media over the weekend. Yeah. So it's crazy, but it's just funny how, something as simple as, I have to go to my daughter's daycare to talk about what I do for a living, and I'm going to do it this way, how that kind of brought us to where we are now. So it's been a lot of fun. And I kind of attribute it as a legacy to John, because he really brought me into where I am in the industry. He's the guy who encouraged me to leave my day job. Which is weird. Yeah. I think back to those times and I'm like, wow, I left and he would call me once a week. He'd be like, you nervous? Don't be nervous. Did your phone ring today? Like he was really on me about that stuff. And we had a lot of fun together. So I miss him. Unfortunately, in 2007, when he passed, he actually, in his final instructions, he didn't want the sad music that you would have at a funeral. He wanted me to DJ his wake and his memorial service. So there I am. John's at one end of the funeral parlor. I'm in the back, and he left me a playlist. And it was Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss and just all this stuff that John loved. So he was a really a real special guy. So I miss him, but he got me to where I am.
Yeah. So let's kind of jump into,
sure.
Obviously dancing hasn't been a big thing for a lot of us, and it may not even be a big thing for us this summer. We'll actually be touching base on that in our next show a little bit also, specifically looking at a recent wedding. You've been doing some other things. Let's kind of dig into what you've been kind of diversifying and such with your company.
Well, we'll start with the bubble since we're on that topic, and then we'll switch things over a little bit. We decided we've been doing more birthday parties with the Bubble Parties program. I mean, it was originally developed as a daycare thing, and we've been doing a lot of bubble parties. In fact, about a year ago, when COVID hit, I had a lot of downtime, and we did a lot of stuff. One of the things I did about a year ago is I taught myself how to balloon twist off of YouTube.
Okay.
Now, it sounds crazy, okay? But I'm thinking, if I'm going to be doing birthday parties, I need to have something else just to keep kids entertained and be able to keep some income coming in. I taught myself how to do 15 different creations, simple stuff. And I've been able to do that in conjunction with doing parties for kids in the driveway. And we have a little trailer we bring out. We have a lot of fun with it. But that's just one of the things. I got really nervous, and I think a lot of us did. I had pivoted my company away from weddings, and we were going into corporate. We were doing a ton of corporate with our game show brand, and that all disappeared. And I watched my entire year, like a lot of DJs, just go. And it was like that big iris was closing rather quick.
Yeah.
About 8 years ago, I had started writing a business plan to open a hot dog business, a mobile food business. Before food trucks were big, I was looking at an opportunity to be able to just diversify what we did. And I had an opportunity to go on the coastline of Massachusetts and set up. And I developed this business plan for a hot dog business. We had done the costs. I had done the infrastructure. I was actually using it as an opportunity to get my dad away from his limousine business to retire and give him a little bit of extra income. My DJ company back then was so busy that I had to put that all on the back burner. So my dad passed last year, and it was something my dad always took me for a hot dog lunch. My dad had pulmonary fibrosis due to his service in Vietnam. He was exposed to Agent Orange. So we knew it was coming, but you're never really ready. And I was kind of lost. I was doing bubbles. I was just kind of muddling through trying to figure out what my next move was going to be with my business. and I was away camping with some friends, and I just out of the blue, we had driven by this business that had a hot dog cart set up next to it. And I just on a whim thought about it, but didn't really think too much of it. I went back and I went into Facebook. You know how you open Facebook and you've got your marketplace and the posts just show up?
Yep. That's what I just
Not,
wondered.
no lie. 4 different for sale ads for 4 different hot dog carts in my area. And I'm like, this is dad trying to tell me something. So we opened DJ Dogs, which is our mobile food business. We started out with just hot dogs, and we were doing on the side of the road for a little bit, and we found some really good locations. I set up basically within 2 miles of Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play. And that's a busy enough road during the week that I get a really good lunch crowd. But I've also expanded, and we were doing stuff with councils on aging and doing like oldies lunches, where we're playing oldies music and serving them lunch. One of the things I did learn in doing mobile food is you just can't buy the equipment and show up. There's a lot of this certification. I took my ServSafe. Here in Massachusetts, we have to do allergy stuff. You got to get choked. You know, you have to know what to do if somebody's choking. There's all this stuff you have to do. And I sat down and did it. I had a lot of time on my hands. I did it. And it's just another thing this year. And we were talking before I went on. I'm doing 10 of these lunches at Councils on Aging in the next month. And the councils on aging are not blinking an eye about how much I'm charging for it. I did a corporate last week that it was 4 different locations and 100 hot dogs at each location. And they were all within 15 minutes of one another. So it was an easy trip. But we're going, okay, serve 100 hot dogs, pack everything up, go to the next location, turn the burner on, put the water in, start over. And we did this for a whole day. And corporate, I mean, they're paying, just to give you an idea, $5 a head plus a service charge. So if you do the math, in one day, I made the equivalent of probably my lowest package on a wedding. And it's a corporate client that booked me for 2 more dates. And they put it up in their industry page on Facebook. Now I'm getting calls for all this other stuff. So I just went unique, you know, John. I wanted to do something that if I really decided that, you know what, this is the path where I need to be, I could tie it in with my DJ business. And we've been fortunate enough to have some stuff come along that's going to allow me to do that. So,
and I've actually, the hot dog cart thing, a few people have talked about, they've added that too. And Rick has mentioned that he was done a food truck rally. Rick, thank you for joining us, by the way. The hot dog cart, though, is an intriguing thing because in some cases it's become the main breadwinner, for lack of a better way to describe it, this past fall and this early spring. The second thing is that they're looking at it as, okay, once things start to get back, how does this fit into the company? I want to get your feeling on that before I share that. What, as you look forward, going forward now, and things start to come back, how is the hot dog stand going to fit in? The DJ Dog's going to fit in?
A couple of different ways. We've given that a lot of thought. That was the really big thing before I decided to take the plunge. Was I wanted something that once I get back to work, so it's still going to be able to generate revenue. I've always been a person that has come up with ways to work with it, like, for example, bubble parties. And I'll backtrack for a second with purpose. The majority of my client base, when it comes to bubble parties, book me every year. So it's not like it's a one and done kind of thing. Same thing with corporate. Corporate now is beginning to come back. And if you're creative enough, you're going to get that through the door. With DJ Dogs, I've got a couple of different thoughts on that. The first one is we're working on hiring a team right now to be able to do the hot dog cart if I'm out DJing an event. But at the same time, we want to be able to, we have a couple of clients that are interested in having the hot dog cart for a late night station at their wedding.
Right.
Where we set up right outside the venue, pop the umbrella up, throw some dogs down. I have a dedicated staff that'll be able to do all of that, and I'll still be able to DJ their wedding inside. Plus, we've added weird stuff. Like we added a gourmet popcorn bar. We bought a popcorn machine, and we're doing flavored popcorn. We're doing snow cones. So we're adding stuff. Snow cones go great with the kids. And all of the Parks and Rec stuff are booking popcorn for their movie nights because that's stuff that they started doing last year that they probably have never done before COVID hit is stuff that they're doing again this year because there's still restrictions out there. So there's plenty of avenues. You really do need to be creative and do your homework to do all this stuff, even with just doing some fun entertainment in somebody's driveway. But once you get it and you make it work and you market it the right way, the phone rings.
Oh, yeah.
And the emails come in. And it, like I said, it's crazy. It's crazy to see the leads that are coming in from places that I've never expected them to come in from before. So.
Yeah, that's reaching a different audience is kind of what you're doing with that, and that's very neat.
And you know, weddings. I mean, I don't know about the rest of anybody watching, but the way it all went down here in Massachusetts was about a month ago. The governor came back, and it was the end of last month, and he came back and he said, we're going to allow weddings for up to 100 people. And at that point in time, between the first half of the year, I had 5 weddings booked. The immediate next day, when I sent out the email with the notification saying the governor's approved this, you know, we're ready for your wedding, 4 out of those 5 weddings still postponed. Because they felt it was too soon, or they wanted to have more than 100 people at their wedding, or they wanted to give this whole vaccine thing time to go.
Yes.
So with all that going on, I've got one wedding between now and June, and, you know, I need something to fill the time. Exactly. But it's fun. It's fun. You meet people, and I've booked a couple of shows just off of, you know, having a bubble party brochure sitting on the table. So
yeah, and that becomes that filler, something that can go. It can work outside. It can marriage up with a lot of different types of events outside, and it definitely becomes the diverse thing. The one area that actually somebody was talking when they bought it, and what they're having now is into 2022, they're selling it as a late night snack option at their weddings. And they, the one guy I was talking to, he had 1 cart, and he's like, I'm going to need 3 carts next year because every wedding is booking it, and they are charging $5 a hot dog, and I think $100 setup or whatever it is, something to that. And he's like, and the minimum I think is 100 hot dogs, and they're like, they aren't even batting an eye. So
that's been, we found that we've been doing that marketing. We did a lot of corporate though, because like I said, I still have weddings booked, but I was more focused on the corporate, and I had a more up-to-date list. A lot of the companies are trying, you know, they're bringing their staff back into the office now that things are beginning to open up more. And we're using that as an opportunity to say, listen, why don't you buy your crew lunch? We'll set up outside. We'll play some music. We'll do lunch. And we'll do some fun socially distant games for 30, 45 minutes, or we'll rotate the audience every time a different crew comes out. And corporate's picking up on that. So I've been working on the wedding end, but the wedding end, we're working on a couple of different some more fun food that we're bringing in. We're actually bringing in gourmet cotton candy.
Yeah, I've actually heard
flavored cotton candy. Pina colada, stuff like that. So we're working on that on the wedding end, and I think that's going to work out really well. But it's also going to tie in with a lot of the corporate stuff that we've lost. So it's going to be a win-win all the way around.
So let's just kind of talk about, for expenses. If a person were wanting to add, say, a hot dog cart to their company, what are some of the things that are costs that they would have to deal with in advance before they could be ready to put their shingle up?
The cart obviously is probably the big one. And as I've had people call me that have followed my adventure on social media. You really have to know what you're looking for when it comes to a cart. You just can't go to somebody's house, look at the cart and go, okay, I'll take it. You have to do things like turn the propane on and make sure it lights, and make sure both burners work, and make sure the control works, make sure the water runs. I always tell people, it was funny because I had an opportunity to buy my first one for like $900. I paid double that and bought a new one, so I knew what I was getting.
Sure.
But the cart really is the big thing, but there's also a lot of education depending on the state you live in. You here in Massachusetts, you need to go to ServSafe, and you've probably seen the certificates at different restaurants. ServSafe is about food safety, how to serve it safely, how to know what temperature to cook it at, things like, and it's gross stuff like bacteria, and understanding what bacteria can make people sick. If you've ever watched Bar Rescue and you see those disgusting kitchens, it's how to avoid that stuff.
Don't do
That's
this.
really important. And it was a big education, and you have to take an exam, and you have to pass the exam to get the certificate. And most states require that before you can even go out and start serving. In certain states, you need a allergy exam. You need to have allergen awareness and know what you're serving, what could be construed as prone to people having an allergic reaction.
Sure.
Luckily, with hot dogs, there's really not much. It's more eggs and wheat that you have to worry about than anything else. But you have a big sign on your most menus. You'll put your sign up, and it'll say something to the effect of, "Please make sure you tell your server about any allergies." And that's really where that all goes. But you need to know if somebody asks you, "I'm allergic to gluten. What can't I have?" Well, guess what? You can't have the bun. You have the hot dog, but you can't have the bun. You can't have certain whatever the chips that we might be selling or anything like that. So it's knowing that stuff. Choking education is another thing, depending on the state. Liability. I always tell people, even in the DJ biz, liability. You think you need it in the DJ business, you absolutely need it in the food business, because you just never know. Somebody, we live in that environment. I say this all the time. We live in that environment where somebody can go get a hot cup of coffee at McDonald's, put it in between their legs, sue and win. I don't want that headache. So liability. If you do your homework, and I encourage people to look at what you're going to be doing. If you're getting into the food business, there's about 20 different books that you can find on Amazon that are about getting into the food business. One of the big things I tell people is, if you're going to do this, network with a chef. Find a chef that you know. I'm very fortunate. I call her my head consultant. She's one of the chefs that I've worked with for years at one of the country clubs, and we've become really good friends. And I bounce new menu items off of her. I ask for her for help when it comes to certain things. And we've made a unique menu to my business just because I was able to bounce stuff off of her, because I have a limited space. I have a 4x5 hot dog cart that attaches to my truck.
Okay.
So I've got enough room to cook the dogs. I have an area where I can keep things warm, like chili and cheese and marinara sauce. But we came up with recipes where I didn't need to use that space, and I could use other stuff like coleslaw that I can keep in a cooler, or sauerkraut, which is huge in the hot dog business. And we came up with different ways to make some unique offerings and some unique dogs that people are coming back for now, which is really cool. And we're actually looking at expanding into a cold dog kind of thing with bananas.
Oh, okay.
So we're working on that. That's still there. But I encourage people, get in touch with a chef. Find somebody that you can network with that will help you bounce some ideas off. Not only knowing what the standard things are, like knowing that you have to heat a hot dog to 145 degrees Fahrenheit, but things like, how are you going to make your food, and knowing what your food costs are going to be.
Yeah.
So do your education on that. And then realistically, as I tell people, find a place to go that you're going to have some high traffic, do as much publicity as you can to get your food out and your word out, and have a lot of bright signage, and you'll see what happens. I mean, the first 2 weeks, the first day, it was all my friends. Like all my friends came down to support me and bought lunch off of me, which, you kind of feel bad. You're like, geez, we go camping on the weekend and I end up cooking for you guys and you don't pay me for it. And here I am, I'm serving you hot dogs on the side of the road. And the first 2 days I went out, that's what it was. But a week later, it was like a total opposite. Like I had maybe 5 customers, but word got around. And I did some stuff like, we do text marketing, where we have a program where we send out a text wherever we're going out. Once a week, we send out a text. This is where we're going to be this week. And, oh yeah, you have a text VIP special that you can only get if you're part of our network.
Sure.
We've also done stuff like buy 6 dogs and get your 7th free, that kind of stuff to get a lot of repeat business. And it's taken off. My busiest spot, you ready for this, is on Route 1 South in a town called Norwood, which is about 20 minutes north of Gillette Stadium. It's a candy shop with an ice cream bar on the side.
Okay.
I get the past 3 weeks, and even though I've accounted for it, I went out the first week, I ran out of food. The next week, I added 10% more food. I ran out of that.
Wow.
The third week, I added 10% more. And usually when I run out, I'm usually there till 3 o'clock. I'll be out by like 2:45, right? Not this past Saturday, the Saturday before, I was sold out of food at 2 o'clock. And I still had people coming in going, I want a dog. And I'm like, I don't have any. You could buy some chips and a drink. That's about it. We were out of hot dogs. And this past week, we sold out of our footlongs by 3 o'clock. I mean, last week was the first time I actually went home when I was supposed to go home. So, but yeah, I was really fortunate with this food stuff. It all started, and I was going to like Restaurant Depot to buy stuff, which was great. And that's the other thing is do your homework. Make sure you know what your food costs are supposed to be and figure out what you're going to charge and do that homework. That's what I did in the beginning. I went to BJ's. I figured out how much it was going to cost me to be able to serve a hot dog and a bun. And then I accounted a little bit extra because I'm going to throw ketchup on it. Mm-hmm. So I was going to Restaurant Depot and buying my hot dogs. Last year, I had an opportunity to do a food truck thing. And I got the idea in my head, serve foot-long hot dogs because nobody south of Boston's selling them. Mm-hmm. So I was serving foot-long hot dogs in a boat, and the hot dog's 12, the boat was 6, and I didn't have foot-long buns. I had just the regular buns, and I sold them that way. And people are walking around with this hot dog that's hanging off this boat, and they're trying, and people are going, where can I get that?
I want them.
So when I went to go get footlong hot dogs, Restaurant Depot doesn't have them. BJ's Wholesale doesn't have them. I wound up calling a company that's right outside of Boston called Pearl Meats. They're a provisioner, and they have one of the best hot dogs in Boston. I called and I told the director of sales what I'm doing and who I was, and he says, "Where are you right now?" I said, "I'm on Route 1. And I'm selling at the Fairfield Inn, which is one of my stops in Walpole." He says, "I'm leaving for lunch in an hour. I'm bringing the vice president of sales and a bunch of stuff. You've got cash to pay for the dogs, right?" I said, "Yeah." I was ordering 4 cases of footlong hot dogs. He shows up, gets out of his truck. Now he's in this big Pearl-like SUV kind of thing. He gets out, gives me a great deal on the hot dogs. Like basically I bought 4 cases. He gave me an extra case for free and outfitted me with Pearl like swag, like a new umbrella for the hot dog cart, Pearl all over it. And I agreed at that moment that I was going to be exclusively Pearl, and it's worked out really well for us. So we've actually booked a couple of events for later this year for the people up there on the DJ end. So it's all kind of coming back around, you know?
You're talking, of course, about expenses, and I think that one of the things, within our DJ entertainment, we have labor expenses, but we really don't have a out of pocket expense each and every time beyond gas and a few things such as that. But you've got your other. What kind of ratios are you talking about when you're working? Because you've got your hot dog expenses. How do you assure the profit margin and that you're able to make this a viable business?
One of the things I actually teach when it comes to bubble parties, it all comes back to bubble parties somehow, is do your homework. I tell people when you start doing kids entertainment, find out what other kids entertainers charge in your market so you can figure out where you're going to fit in the relative scheme of things. Mm-hmm. Same thing with what I did with the hot dog cart. I went to a couple of different restaurants. I went to a couple of convenience stores. I went to like 4 or 5 different hot dog carts, and I looked around to see what they were charging. And I then looked at what my cost was going to be. And I wanted to make sure my food cost, they tell you most food costs should be absolutely under 30%. If you're over 30%, you're paying way too much for food. And I keep my food costs under 30%, which works out really well. And I put together a really good product. And I think the thing is, I bring that DJ personality when I'm out, and I have fun with people. And that's what keeps them coming back. But as far as the expenses, how do you figure it out? I did a lot of homework to see what the market, what everybody else was charging. And then I looked at what I could charge that was going to make sure I met my food cost and my other costs and made some profit with it.
Sure.
So it took a little work to fine tune it. Like our combo lunch was overpriced in the beginning. We were charging $8 for 2 hot dogs, a bag of chips, and a soda. And we brought that down a little bit, and it paid off. We sold a lot more of them because we just decided to go down $1.
Sure. And that's that balancing act, especially when you're dealing with food, is that sometimes selling more and cutting that, having a little bit less margin, but you're going to sell a lot more at the smaller margin. It's such a game. Really, it is.
It's a very, John, it's a game, but it can be a lot of fun if you really, you got to be confident, because that really is the other thing. Is I'm looking at these other hot dog carts that are out there, and these guys have been out there for years. Like there was one guy I talked to, and I sat with him for an hour, and he was slammed the whole time. Like he had a line of 3 people to eat. I actually bought a hot dog from him just to be able to pick his brain for about a half hour. And I sat there and I watched him serve dogs. He gave me an education, but I just looked at how am I going to make this so that people are going to come to mine and come back to mine?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just simple stuff like making the food. That the menu is fun with us. We have regular dogs, and then we do what are called remix dogs. And the remix dogs we charge extra for, but it's things. We have one called the Native New Yorker, and it's sauerkraut and spicy mustard. We charge, it's silly stuff like that, but we call it the Native New Yorker. When a kid comes up, what's the most popular thing that kids want on their hot dogs, John?
My kids are ketchup.
There you go. We tell them you can have one with ketchup, but the next time you come by, Mike Walter's going to love this. You have to order a little red Corvette. It's a hot dog with ketchup.
Yeah, hot dog with ketchup.
Okay. So we're working on this lingo. Like somebody comes up and orders a hot dog with mustard and relish. It's a hot dog with an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini playing a green tambourine. And they get a kick out of that stuff. We have another one called the Mamma Mia dog, which is our remix dog with marinara and melted cheese and pepperoni. And it's a pizza dog. It's simple stuff that people recognize, but giving it that fun spin with something they know, which is music.
Sure.
Do you remember back in the day, Orange Julius at the mall?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They had a Chicago dog. And all it really was, if you go to Chicago and you order a Chicago dog, that's what they take. They take pride in that stuff. But Orange Julius, it really was just a hot dog with mustard, relish, and onions. It was simple. And we call that Saturday in the Park because it was their take on a Chicago dog.
Yeah.
And that's what we call ours. And it's just having fun. Our footlong hot dogs that we sell are called the Notorious DOGs. And people, they walk up and they go, I love the names that you have here.
Yeah.
And they keep coming back because we're doing some fun stuff with it. So
excellent. So that's a great addition. You mentioned some other food items and such that you're going to be adding to, or you're working on right now. Where did you come up with the ideas, or where do you find if people are like, hey, I'd love to find some of these pieces, where could they go look in their local markets to find food for items, or they can add food to their company?
A couple of different ways. You can go, you realistically can jump on anywhere. A lot of the stuff I bought for like the hot dog cart I bought new because I'm dealing with something that I'm going to be using a lot. And I wanted to know where it was. I wanted to know that it was mine right out of the gate. But you can find auction websites. I go on to auction websites all the time. And when you look at auction websites, you want to look at amusement companies and you want to look at the trampoline parks that are closing. and they are closing because a lot of them got impacted by COVID.
Right.
And they're liquidating their stuff. You can get anything from the little sandwich signs, the little A-frame signs, to popcorn machines, cotton candy, and all that stuff on those auction sites. But I find the best luck is like the restaurant supply websites. They have a lot of good stuff, and it's industry standard stuff. So you're getting a good piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of research. You Google, for example, snow cones, because we've been working on that a lot. I don't want to serve cherry snow cones because not every kid's going to want cherry snow cones. So I did research on what the top 36 snow cone flavors are, so I can make sure I had the right syrups on board when we go out and do snow cones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a cool time with the jumping back to doing kids entertainment for a minute. We actually now will go do a driveway party for a kid's birthday. And then I'll have one of my team show up with the hot dog cart, and they'll set up a little table and plug in the snow cone machine and set up the little bar for me. And when I'm done, all the kids will follow me over to the snow cones. We'll make snow cones for each kid. And it's extra money that the client's going to pay me.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out really well.
So you've got, the kids doing the kids events, you have the different food options and such. How much time is this going to be consuming in your life when you put all these different businesses together?
Well, let's see. The average day, and we'll go based on the average day of when I'm out doing dogs, for example, because an average day on the dogs, I'm out selling for 4 hours. It's about 30 minutes of setup. It's about 30 minutes of breakdown, but then I have to go back to my commissary. Here in Massachusetts, you have to have a commercial kitchen to store your food and to do your dishes and to make sure everything's sanitized. And if you're doing any food prep, you need to do it at your commercial kitchen. So I probably spend, on the average day, I'm usually out for about 7 hours.
Okay.
And that's from the time I arrive to set up until the time I'm done with my dishes. And, it's 10 minutes from my house. So I drop everything off and I come home.
So talk about that commissary a little bit, having that commercial kitchen access. Now, what is that? Or is it something you're having to rent your own, or is it something you're able to share?
It depends on where you are. You can't really do this stuff at your house. The boards of health really frown upon that because they want things that are sanitary. They want to avoid people getting sick. So here in Massachusetts, they require you to have a commissary. And your commissary is the place where you store your food, and it's stored in a manner where it is safe. And it's a place where you do all your food prep because it is a sanitary commercial kitchen. And there's a lot of them for rent. I use the hotel, one of the hotels that I'm set up at. They don't have a function room, but they have a fully functional kitchen for their breakfast nook. And it's only used up until 9 o'clock in the morning. So we worked out a little deal with them, and I use it in the middays to be able to do what I have to do, whether it's, I store my stuff there, or I'm doing dishes at the end of a gig and, getting everything ready for the next day, or doing inventory or anything. I have a place that is certified as a commercial kitchen by the local board of health. And it's a place where I can go and I can actually do that. And it's something, again, it's peace of mind. Mm-hmm. It's knowing that, the place is sanitized, the place is cleaned every day. The way the food is stored appropriately and in a manner where people, you're not going to spoil your food. And,
right.
Your soda's 6 inches off the ground, that kind of stuff. So,
That's interesting. And I guess I didn't even think about the cleanup side of it and having to have that commercial kitchen space.
Oh yeah, and they'll tell you, for example, one of the things that they say in some of the materials, you can talk to a restaurant. They're probably not going to let you do it because they use their kitchen all day long. Mm-hmm. But you look at places like the local Knights of Columbus Hall or the local Elks Lodge that has a little function room on it. The American Legions. I have American Legions right now. American Legions are all hurting right now because membership is down and they haven't been able to open because of COVID.
Right.
If you're getting into this, you could probably broker a deal for low money as a donation that, guess what? It's a donation that is tax deductible to use their kitchen space as a commercial kitchen. So
Yeah.
there's little ways around everything. And the nice thing about it, the one thing that I will say is when I got into this, a lot of the education was the Board of Health is going to give you a hard time about everything and they're going to be jerks. And I have not had a single problem. I got to knock on wood here, with any Board of Health that I've ever worked with. I get my permits on time. I get, if they come out and do an inspection, they're really nice about it. I had one inspector come out, do an inspection, and then buy himself lunch. So, but it's also good stuff for the community too. And we're doing some stuff coming up where we've got fundraisers, where we're doing, we're setting up and we're giving a percentage of the net profit back to a charity.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just another realm of opening up possibilities for us. It's networking with people. We have a little league that, they came to us and said, we would love to have you here every night, but, we need to make some kind of deal because we want a percentage of something. I'm like, I'll donate 20% of my net sales. Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I'm not paying rent here. And it's a donation. It's tax deductible. So
yeah,
it's been a fun ride. I got to be honest with you. It's nice to be doing something different, but it's nice for things to be opening up on the DJ end again, where I can do and start working on a plan to be able to combine all this stuff with some more events. So it'll be a fun take.
Excellent. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We got a few folks in the chat rooms here on Facebook and on YouTube this evening. So, Rob, we got just a few more minutes and we have to wrap up tonight. So kind of look into how do you think specifically we're going to kind of look into children's events because we had talked, we'd done some shows where we talked bubble parties about the daycare side of it and how that became. Then 2020 showed us driveway parties. What are you going to, do you think you're going to be back into daycares? Do you think it's going to be driveway parties or a combination? What are you kind of thinking this summer is going to look like?
The big answer is going to be yes. And I say that because I do have daycares that are going to be booking us, and they're working on ways to be able to bring us in safely. And it's not going to be the typical show we've done in the past, though, because there are still guidelines about you can't commingle classes and things like that. At the same time, I have driveway parties. I think if you were a kid that celebrated a kid-style birthday in 2019 and you were supposed to celebrate one in 2020, people got creative and they did stuff like parades, which were huge last year. And then we developed the driveway party thing. I think that's going to continue this year because I still think even though people are being vaccinated and things are changing and the numbers are coming down and things are reopening, I think people are still going to be cautious. And I think also the majority of people who are still struggling economically because of this are going to choose having something at their house rather than going to a place, not just for the financial aspect, but for the sanitary aspect, going to a place like Chuck E. Cheese or, your bounce parks. Nothing against them, but I think people are going to be looking at, I don't know if I want to go into a place where there's, there's kids running around and, nobody's enforcing the mask and that kind of thing. I think people are going to be looking at that a little bit more and it's going to benefit. I think being able to do something creative and fun for kids to celebrate a birthday, or, it's the last day of school and you want to get there, you want to have a little party in your driveway to celebrate that stuff. Come up with a program, come up with an idea, learn from our program if that's what you want to do, and go out there and do it. Because if you're like me, and I've talked to a lot of DJs, not just in our network, DJs, I think this year you're going to see things come back. Like a lot of weddings are coming back, and I think you're going to see corporate coming back, but I really don't think we're going to see it full tilt until next year.
I think that's a very accurate statement. So bubble parties, there is, for those who are kind of interested in checking that out, it's a kind of a turnkey system. You've got everything put together and you can get them going basically.
Exactly.
Quickly,
we have
easily.
made a few changes. Can I just bring up a couple of changes that I want to just share with some people, get the word out?
Yeah.
We used to be exclusive, meaning we used to have a territory.
Yeah.
We kind of started developing it as a franchise. One of the things that we've learned over the past few years is the territory thing really wasn't. I don't want to say it was working. It was one of those things. I think that people just, it wasn't working for our program, so we decided to eliminate it. So that also allows us to be able to venture into different areas. We're working on promoting this in Canada now, and I've gotten a couple of calls from Australia on being able to buy this program and be able to expand it, because we have a way of being able to do it. At the same time, if you're in a market where there's another provider, one of the things that was the major discussion among the majority of our providers was having a little competition is great, because it's going to make you work harder for the buck. It's going to make you work harder to make your show your own. But as I've said to people before, this program, kids entertainment, isn't for everybody.
Yeah,
if you don't like kids, then you really shouldn't do it. Go get hot dogs. You'll still have to put up with kids, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Once they've had their hot dog, they go away. They're not there for a half hour.
But you've got to, you go out there and we wanted to make it a program that was just going to be able to help DJs, especially now, because I think a lot of DJs are looking to figure out a way to get their company to survive and to get back into business. And, I struggled a year ago with, what am I going to do now? Is this the universe telling me that it's time for me to go find a day job and maybe change a career path? Luckily, no. Instead, I learned how to cook hot dogs. But I think at the end of the day, that's really the big change that I wanted to let people know is we've changed our pricing structure. We've changed our territory protection, so doesn't exist anymore. If you want more information, go to bubbleparties.com. Request the free special report. You'll get access to the old one, but then you'll also get the latest one about how we all survived last year.
Nice. Again, you guys can go to bubbleparties.com. That link is down in the description of the video.
Love it.
You can check that out, and it's also under the comments. If you're looking there, you'll find it up here a little bit in the comment area.
That way. Which way are we looking?
It's everywhere, and it's been popping up below us here every few minutes also. So we've got it all over. So,
well, it's a pleasure to always to sponsor with you, John. It's always nice to come on and do this, but you've done so much for the industry over the years, and it's nice to give you and the people that count on this to learn. Yeah. Not only some content, but the support. So thanks for having me.
Definitely appreciate that. That's for sure. Rob, our time is up, my friend. It's gone quick tonight. Wow.
We talked hot dogs. We talked kids. We talked balloons. It's great.
Yeah.
If anybody needs to get in touch with me, though, John, they want to ask questions or anything, the easiest email to get me is djrobpeters@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's my little super secret private one. You can email me anytime if you have any questions, want to learn more about what we're doing, or just want to say hi. It's always great to talk to DJs, and I'm looking forward to seeing people in person as things progress this year and early next year.
Yeah, so that should be coming soon. So again, djrobpeters@gmail.com. You guys can email Rob or go to bubbleparties.com and check out things there and reach out and see if it's something you could add to your entertainment option to kind of keep you busy, not only on the weekends, but giving you some things to do during the week also. So,
and if you're in Boston, you want to come to a hot dog, go to DJ Dogs. Anyway, no, we won't go there. But if you're in the Boston area, you're out on Route 1, you know where I am, Walpole, Norwood. Stop on by, check us out. Come on by, have some lunch.
Sounds great, Rob. Thank you guys for being with us. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with our second show tonight. We're going to be talking about some lessons from a recent wedding here and how things have changed just a little bit here in 2021. Thanks for watching.